A typical client is someone who has been through a very long and painful and difficult journey with a family member who's struggling with addiction or compulsive behaviors.
They have often had 2, 3, 4 treatment experiences, spent countless thousands of dollars on treatment, and they almost don't believe anything works.
Oftentimes families have a real challenging time understanding that this is a biopsychosocial disease, that their loved one is acting in irrational ways and is behaving in ways that are really self-destructive, not by their choosing, but because they struggle with this illness and it's all-encompassing. And they want to believe that it's a matter of choice. And so they get locked in this belief that somehow if this addict just chooses to change their thinking in their mind about wanting recovery, that it will be so. And then they personalize it when they relapse. And families are locked in this battle, and we need to unlock that. And that's what we do.
Our job is to, first of all, recognize and listen to their story, but also to help them understand that there is hope. The treatment industry, again, tends to treat this illness as an acute illness, as if it were a broken leg. People come in, they have the leg set. In this case, they go to treatment. It may be a fine treatment center. But when they leave, there's very little follow-up. And if it were an acute disease, that would be fine because the bone would heal and things would be fine. With a chronic relapsing brain disease, which addiction is, you need to follow it for 18 months to 2 years to have good outcomes.
After we've been engaged by a family, typically 2 people from Clere Consulting will meet with the family in their home or in wherever it is that they live. And we'll spend a day, or as long as it takes, really, to understand where they've been, to get a feel for their family system and understand the dynamics that are at play, and interview all of the relevant people that are a part of this, are potentially a part of the recovery process and can be supportive, so that we can strategize and come up with a plan, a long-term plan for recovery and a long-term plan for the family.
If you take someone to treatment, put them there for 28 days, and then just send them out, you're setting them up for failure unless you wrap care around them. I want a turnkey, ready to go, continuing care program for someone the second they leave treatment. I want them to know where they're going to show up the next day, where their counseling appointments are. Are they going to see a life coach? What sorts of skills do we need to help them attain? So that they have the accountability built around them and the supports that they need.
The things that really separate us and make us different from other providers are centered around individual treatment planning, long-term understanding of what is required to treat the illness, and then maintaining some guardrails and some expectations over time.
We talk about codependency. I mean, that's a term that has a lot of different meanings to different people. The way that we look at codependency is that family members, their loved ones, and people in their circle of support all have a way of relating to that addict as an addict. They don't have a way of relating to that person as a real, sober, living, well-functioning person. Those relationships have been so shattered over time and so strained over time that for that recovering individual to come back into that family system, it is almost toxic for both parties. And it's nobody's fault. It's just what it is. And what we have to do is we have to provide training not only for and support not only for the addict, and make sure that the resources that we muster to support that addict in recovery are good, but we have to make sure the family and all the support systems around them also have that training and understanding.
Once the family trusts us, we will do whatever is necessary to help them. We don't have a cookie cutter one size fits all. We really individualize it to what that family needs. We're very nuanced. Sam and I and Amy often step back and say, you know, this isn't working. What would work?
Sometimes we'll deal with families who really do see this is just an addict's issue. And once the addict is better, our family will be better. Once the addict is better, I will be better. And it's helpful to explain to the family that, and to put in perspective, so we've got this addict who is dealing with a whole lot of guilt and shame and remorse and bewilderment of how did I get here, what am I doing? And to put the burden on that addict that once you get well, our family will be well. That's too much of a burden to put on anybody who's already carrying a very heavy load. So to enlighten these families that regardless of what the addict does, you need to be okay. And here's how we can help you get okay. And that is a gift to an addict when the rest of the family can find balance and can find purpose and meaning and health and happiness regardless of what the addict does. Because then everybody's responsible for themselves at that point, and they can come together and heal.
We work with our families, not at them.
In most family businesses, if you're the son or daughter of the founder, you have a bullseye on your back. People are looking at you and judging you constantly. And that's a very challenging place to be. A lot of people come into family businesses because they feel they need to, have to. It's sort of expected. And we find a lot of young men and women involved in family businesses who really have other dreams and they have other ideas about who they want to be. And part of recovery isn't just putting down the bottle or the drug. I mean, that's just the ticket to enter recovery, that's it. The rest of it is, what's your reason to be in the world? And we spend a lot of time with our family business clients and our other clients to make sure that they have the tools and the resources to discover that.
I think that the field of recovery and the disease of addiction, while it can be devastating, absolutely devastating, it's an extremely hopeful disease to have, in my view, because the treatment for it is finding purpose and finding meaning and connection to other human beings and really getting on fire with life and what one's on this planet to achieve. That's a hopeful illness to have.
I have seen absolute train wrecks that came in so hopeless, families so broken, who have turned this around, and I have been constantly surprised at the resilience of families and at the resilience and really at the fact that recovery is so possible and that there's so much hope that and so many ways in which people can recover if some time and effort and some intelligence and a systematic way of looking at addiction, if all of those things, play out, there's a lot of hope there. And we think it's our job to provide that hope and that map so that people can believe in that possibility. And that's really what we do.